So, good afternoon to all the participants for this in this particular seminar or session on strengthening character in the struggling and shy students. I would like to begin with a very important word, and this particular word is actually a badge of honor. And we are talking about the word character. So, if you take a look at history, you will realize that this particular word character is actually a symbol. It is an engraved mark impressed upon a Greek coin. And this particular symbol actually talks about the excellence in an individual. And that particular excellence in the individual, the virtue, the value exhibited by the individual is actually because of nature. But more importantly, because we are teachers, I think it is important to remind ourselves that it is also because of formation, because of education. So therefore, we realize that in the context of this particular seminar, we play a crucial role in the formation of the child, particularly when we talk about character. And this particular session will focus on a group of students, two groups of students. We call them number one, the struggling students, and number two, the shy students. And later on, we will take a look at the definition or definitions of this particular group of students or groups of students, including, consequently, later on, we will talk about a couple of virtues that I would like to recommend that you focus on in forming the struggling, in forming the shy students. But going back to this particular point regarding the character, in order to impress on us the importance of this particular point, let's go back to history again and remember Oskar Schindler. World War II, Holocaust, German occupation of Poland or of Europe. And of course, because it is Holocaust, we are reminded of the extermination camps. So not only concentration camps, but extermination camps, wherein more than 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazi Germans. And we take a look at the meaning of the word compassion. And if you zero in on this particular definition, you will realize that Oskar Schindler has this particular character. He was compassionate. He was responsible for saving uh, more than 1,000 Jews from being executed, exterminated by the Germans, being taken to the gas chambers. And in our schools today, we give importance to the teaching of character. Let me just give an example. So, zeroing in again on compassion, we ask these familiar questions, like, for example, number one, okay, can you identify a kind act that you showed or saw for each day of the week? Elementary school students, and maybe even applicable for high school students. What was the result of that particular kind action on your part? What are your feelings or thought about it? This particular classroom exercise or classroom activity exemplifies the importance that we teachers, that schools give to character education. And as we can see, we hope that when we embed, when we integrate, when this particular part of the exercise is actually the main lesson, that we are teaching our children, our students, the kids, how to be compassionate. So with this particular point then, I would like now to take a look at the goals for this particular session. There are two in the form of questions. And later on, hopefully, we'll be able to find answers to these questions. Number one, and then we have the number two. Number one, who are the shy and struggling students in our classrooms? in our schools. We have to be able to identify them. And we have to give what we call importance to that particular title of the seminar or the module, Quiet Heroes, because they cannot be left behind. The second one is, how do we attend to their character formation? Just like what I said a while ago, I will recommend a couple of virtues, one for struggling students and one for shy students that they need to develop, that we need to develop or facilitate the development of these virtues among those students that we have identified. And more importantly, aside from the virtues, there are certain strategies that I would like to lay down or to lay out or to map out, okay, that those strategies are they can take place outside of the classroom, but more importantly, also inside the classroom, contributing to what we call effective teaching in character education. So, two objectives: who are the shy or who are the struggling and shy students, and how do we attend to their character formation or to their character education? I would like now to provide everyone probably a minute. So identify your superpowers. What's your superpower? Reflect on your strengths as a teacher. Think about the time when you successfully taught struggling and shy students. Reflect on your strengths as a teacher. Think about the times when you successfully taught struggling and shy students. A math classroom, a social studies classroom, perhaps in a formation chat, in a club, in a service learning project, etc. All right. Okay. So just jot them down and maybe later on you can go back to those answers. So we take a review and we take a look at what is character. The two virtues there, okay, exemplify what character is all about. As we have also mentioned a while ago regarding the stamp, the symbol of excellence. So kindness and trustworthy. These are personal traits like kindness, being trustworthy, being someone who is kind, caring, persevering, patient, okay, that produce specific moral emotions. But at the same time, those moral emotions inform the motivation, and of course, when they apply, when they transfer, when they do certain things for the good of other people around them, right? It guides the conduct of the person. So therefore, why do we place an importance on character? So I will no longer go down to the many reasons why character education is important, but I would like to highlight the importance of character education by looking at this particular quotation regarding integrity. So integrity may sometimes be relegated to the drawer labeled too hard, but life is much, much harder, very much sadder without it. So therefore, we cannot live in a world without virtues, without values. And that's the reason why schools, we teachers, place an importance on character education. So we move on and it's celebration time. So again, I would like to invite everyone to maybe you can write them down, okay, in the chat box to tell our colleagues about an important outcome of your school's character education program. And then hopefully later on, I'll be able to take a look at some of the notes that you have written down. What are the important outcomes or what is an important outcome of the character education program of your school? As I mentioned a while ago, we cannot we cannot live in a world without character, without values, without virtues. We need kind people, caring people. And I think this is an opportunity for you to reflect on the importance of your school's character education program. Very difficult to form kind persons, persevering persons, but at the same time, without them, the world will not be the kind of world that we want to live in. So we move on, and I would like to point out that when we talk about forming the character of the shy and struggling students, this particular principle is the foundation. Character education is for all children in our classrooms. And therefore, we're looking at an inclusive character education. Each child has a right to character education. The development of character empowers not only the gifted, the intelligent, those students who are doing well in our classrooms, those who are probably getting high honors, etc. But we have to include into the picture the struggling students and the shy students. Because when we talk about character education, it's empowerment for all of the students that belong to our class or classes, or therefore all students in the entire school. So no one left behind. This is a motto of soldiers that when they go to the battlefield, they are accountable to their comrades. It's just like saying, and we go back to this particular point in the United States, no child left behind. So no one left behind. And therefore, we have to think about the shy and struggling students. And when we think about them, we have to have a key word in education. We have to take into consideration a key word in education, something that we talk about, a concept that we discuss, a, a word that continues to perhaps uh, allow us to do a lot of research about it. And that particular word is disadvantage. So we begin by understanding the struggling student, the shy student, by looking at a keyword in education, particularly in educational research. The keyword, the key term is disadvantage. And I would like now to invite everyone again to use a word or a phrase, one word please, or a phrase, okay? What do you mean or what do we mean when we say disadvantage, particularly in the context of the classroom? And then later on, we will build on it to take a look at the struggling student and the shy student. So what is disadvantage in education? What particular research study have we encountered talking about disadvantage in education? Maybe we have attended a particular graduate school class, a master's class, wherein the particular topic has something to do with disadvantaged children or disadvantaged students, etc. So one word, please. If you want, you can write it down, and later on, we can take a look at it in the right. Okay. So one word, disadvantage. I would like to present a couple of definitions regarding the disadvantage in the classroom. The first one is it does not only mean, okay, poverty, but also lack of social and cultural capital, maybe language, okay, and control over decisions that affect their life. But I think the second one captures and later on will provide us with an opportunity to go deeper into the struggling and the shy student. So disadvantage describe the children that are unable to benefit from the full opportunities that a classroom or a teacher or a school can offer. So again, children, our students inside our classrooms who are unable to fully benefit from all the opportunities, from the good learning environment, from the resources, from the textbooks, from the good teaching that we offer to them, okay, because of a variety of barriers. And later on, we'll take a look at those variety of barriers when we talk about struggling and shy students. All right? So there are two kinds of disadvantaged students in the classroom that we're going to talk about today. And these are the struggling and the shy students. So let's trade ideas first. Okay? Who are the disadvantaged students in your classroom from last year as we are starting the new school year? Maybe you can think about a specific student, someone who has a name, an individual student. What are their significant challenges? Who is one example of a disadvantaged student in my classroom last year? What were his or her significant challenges? And let us see later on if that particular student falls under struggling or shy student. Okay, so now the disadvantaged students in our classroom, in our school, okay, obviously they need help because there are certain obstacles, there are certain barriers, there is a gap. They don't have that particular opportunity to learn, full opportunity to learn, because those barriers or obstacles, okay, prevent them from doing so. So they need help, okay? So I would like to apologize. There is a baby crying. I live in a condo, and I think the baby is crying in the corridor. All right. So they need help. So let's now take a look at these particular students, beginning with the struggling students. So beginning with the struggling students, okay? And when we take a look at the struggling students, just like what I said a while ago, they need help. And we will now try to identify who are these struggling students. Okay. So the struggling student is typically one who is performing significantly below grade level expectations. Reading level is low, below reading level expectations of that particular grade. Math scores are not good. So therefore, the struggling student is an academically challenged student. And here, students struggling with their interpersonal skills or with following classroom and school rules. So we introduce another type of struggling student. And that particular student is someone who struggles in social emotional learning. Maybe he cannot control his temper, okay? Someone who is prone to anger, someone who not deal properly, effectively with other people. So there are certain problems when we take a look at social relationships. So struggling students then fall under two types. Number one, academically challenged students. And the second one are those students who have a problem with dealing with their classmates, dealing with their schoolmates. So this is the struggling student. Now, before we take a look at the virtue that I would like to recommend regarding forming this particular student in character, I would like now everyone to take a look at this particular reflection point again. It is entitled Because I Like You. How important is it to establish good relationship with the students you teach, especially those who are struggling in your class? How important is it to establish good relationship with the students you teach, especially those who are struggling in your class? And later on, we will go back to this particular phrase, because I like you, particularly highlighting good relationships. All right. So, character education strategy. How do we form the struggling student? The previous slide has already given an indication about a very important strategy. It actually underlies, okay, it's the foundational strategy for all the strategies that will be mentioned in this particular module or session. It has something to do with relationships. If you are buying a house, as they say, you ask a, a question, or rather three questions. But those three questions all has something to do with a single answer. And the single answer is location, location, and location. I think when we talk about forming the character of the students, particularly zeroing in on the struggling students, disadvantaged student number one, and shy students, disadvantaged student number two, it's about relationships, relationships, relationships. It's the foundational strategy. We have to know, you have to know your students, we have to know our students, we have to form a good relationship with them in order for them to be able to say, because I like you, I will listen to you, I will follow you, I will cooperate with you, I will take a chance with you, etc., etc. All right. So let's now take a look at character education strategy number one, particularly focus on the struggling students. When we talk about the struggling students, the most important virtue that we need to inculcate, that we need to form among them, to develop among them, is the virtue of perseverance, the virtue of patience. They have to persevere, they have to struggle. And in this particular point, then, I would like to introduce a concept that we may know in education, and this particular concept is something that we call productive struggle. Productive struggle. That the students, when they look at a task, that when they look at an exercise, at an activity, something that needs to be accomplished, something, a skill perhaps that needs to be mastered, a certain content that needs to be understood, etc., etc. It has to be presented not only as a struggle on the part of those students, but something productive. There is something good that will come out of it. So therefore, it is important for them to realize the objectives or the goal of that particular struggle, but more importantly, that probably the most important element of that particular process of learning the content or mastering the skill is the best effort that they can give. And along the way, if they commit a mistake, they learn from their mistake. There are three things regarding the point about productive struggle. So, number one, we have to make them realize that learning comes from struggle. You have to give your best effort. It cannot be served to you in a plate. You have to earn your lunch, as they say. It is important that when we learn, we spend a lot of time, a lot of effort. And many times we commit mistakes. And from those mistakes, we actually learn. The second point, okay, so part of this particular part of this particular productive struggle is number one, they have to ask questions related to the struggle. So inquiry, they have to be inquiry oriented. They have to know what the struggle is all about. What is the outcome of the struggle? Number two, that they have to persevere because only in perseverance, in trying their best, okay, of course, with the help of the teacher, that they will be able to achieve their goal. And the third one is there is the point of a supportive relationship. they have to expect help. And that particular help sometimes will not only come from the teacher, but sometimes, or probably most of the time, it will have to come from their classmates. And that's why later on, we will also highlight the importance of collaborative learning or cooperative learning in the classroom. So that's the first point. Okay. So when we talk about the strategy in helping struggling students, we have to take a look at the virtue of perseverance. We have to develop in them that particular virtue. So we have to point out that particularly when we take a look at what happens in the school or inside the classroom, we highlight the importance of productive struggle. Learning comes from struggling. Now, there are other strategies that we can employ in order to develop perseverance. So, for example, number one, recognizing best effort. It can be a word, a kind word coming from a teacher. It can be a feedback coming from a teacher, or even probably from an award coming from the class advisor given to a student. Number two, friends help a lot because the struggling students, they need a network, a group of people who can help them. And when I mentioned a while ago collaborative learning, cooperative learning, or group learning, in that context of group learning, they should be able to find someone or several persons who can actually help them learn. Positive feedback is a plus. Do it most often when it is appropriate. So I think that is important. Okay. So because when we give positive feedback to our students, it motivates them to move on, to go on, to persevere. And we all know that when we talk about what the research is telling us, the most important strategy in developing students, okay, whether in the field of academics or developing their character, is actually feedback. Because that particular feedback helps them improve. Reduce extrinsic rewards. We have to highlight and we have to celebrate intrinsic rewards. So therefore, intrinsic motivation is very important. So it must be something that will bring about to the student a certain sense of joy, a certain sense of accomplishment, a certain sense of meaning or connection. Grades are important. Uh, Certain scores that are given to students, other scores are important, but more important than the extrinsic motivation is the intrinsic motivation or the intrinsic reward. Now, let's now take a look at the classroom because we're dealing with struggling students, academically challenged, or maybe those students uh, who are socially challenged. There are certain strategies that we can actually employ in order to help them. So let's take a look at some of them. So effective teaching that will actually help form their character. Number one, plan lessons for maximum learning and engagement. You have to involve everyone. When you come up with a lesson plan, a unit plan, or a performance task blueprint, the goal is learner-centered. But that learner-centered means that all the members of the class must be involved. When I ask a question, I don't only call on those students who are actually raising their hands or those students who are actually good in my class. I have to involve those students. I have to call on those students who are actually struggling in my class. So maximum learning and engagement. The second one is you are always or constantly searching for new ways to teach a lesson. What will make them excited about a lesson? What will make them engage in a lesson? What would allow them to actually own the lesson? Because a lesson will not be successful unless we have what we call student ownership. So you are constantly hunting for the new ways or new strategies. Show belief in them. You are not only someone who is looking at the mistakes, at the errors, at the deficits of the students. But when you plan and when you're actually inside the classroom, when you're teaching them, when you're conferring with them, when you're coaching them, etc., right? You are actually looking at what are the abilities of my students that I can actually highlight in this particular lesson, in this particular performance task, in this particular discussion. So it's a strengths-based classroom. And the last one is you have to stretch yourself. I think we all know that when we talk about the struggling student, we we have to go beyond the rules that are written, okay, in the contract, because it means that we have to spend extra time uh, talking to these students. It means that we have to have probably intervention strategies. It means that we have to be very visible. Teacher visibility is very important to them. We have to talk to them. We have to reach out to them. Remember, we cannot teach them unless we reach out to them. So this particular principle is reach them, okay, before teaching them. So the fourth and last one also is very important because it talks about really the disposition or the attitude of the teacher. That one is willing to go beyond what is asked of him, maybe even going beyond the number of hours that we actually have allotted for planning the lesson or staying inside the classroom, etc., in order to spend more time with these students who actually need our help. So effective teaching. So what else? What are other teaching methods, okay, or strategies or character education strategies that you have? Maybe you could zero in on one particular strategy that you have tried before and it worked wonders in your classroom, and maybe we can share it to our colleagues who are attending this particular session. So give you a few seconds, probably 30 seconds. All right, we'll check the inbox later on. So we will now take a look at struggling. Now, this time, who are the shy students? Who are the shy students? So we begin with a description, okay, based on research regarding who are the shy students. Shyness is actually fear. It's fear to meet people. Difficult in terms of starting a conversation. There is awkwardness on the part of that particular student when that student is in front of the class or is talking to a group of students. Maybe the inability of that particular student to utter a word during discussion, during recitations, okay? Because there is fear, there is anxiety. And as you can see in this particular slide, the word discomfort, meaning to say, when there is discomfort, attention is divided. And we all know that when we talk about one of the principles of good learning on the part of the students, we have to have their attention. If the attention is divided, for example, in the context of the authoritarian teacher, the student is trying to listen to the teacher explain a concept, but at the same time, the student fears the teacher that if the teacher calls on him or her, okay, to recite, and then he cannot or she cannot provide an answer, and that particular authoritarian teacher will put him down. And therefore, he is on a defensive stance. There's discomfort. Actually, the student is not actually paying full attention because the attention is divided. And we have to take a look at that particular discomfort because that discomfort is something that actually prevents the student from maximizing his opportunity to actually develop himself, whether in the area of academics and more importantly, okay, in character formation. So at its core is anxiety. What will they say about me? What will they think about me? All right. Okay. She does not want to be evaluated. She fears that that particular evaluation will actually hurt him or hurt her, and consequently will be rejected. So this is the shy student. I would like now again to take a look at a character education strategy and highlight a certain virtue on how to deal with forming the character of the shy student. And this particular virtue is a superpower, and that particular virtue is the virtue of courage. So a while ago, when we talk about struggling students, we have to talk about what we call uh, the virtue of perseverance. When we take a look at the shy student, we have to take a look at the virtue of courage. So, what is courage? Being courageous means being able to overcome fear, precisely because the high student, such that the shy student, okay, has anxiety. Now, so therefore, the goal is to become more comfortable with the challenges in school, in the classroom, or in dealing with classmates during discussion, during recitations, during group work, or even during the advisory time. Okay? And therefore, experiencing less stress. So what is highlighted or what should be highlighted in dealing with shy students is the development of the virtue of courage. And there is good news. And this particular good news is research tells us that courage can actually be taught. It can be taught. Children being courageous can actually be taught. And let's now take a look at the research. Now, research has identified number one, that they can actually recover quickly from a fear reaction. So that's number one. How do they do it? By positively adapting to repeated stress or danger. All right. And therefore, what they need is actually someone who can help them to have a high morale, to be able to develop that particular virtue of courage in them. Because when we talk about a person who is courageous, he is a person who has a high morale. Okay. And it is also important that they can actually display a courageous attitude. And later on, we will take a look at how to help them display or show or apply a courageous attitude. So let's now take a look at an example in our conversations with the shy students. Number one, a question of security. And then we go back to that particular point regarding relationships, relationships, relationships. When I talk to this particular mentor of mine, the class advisor, the teacher, can I trust him? Because the shy student is always asking the question, who can I trust? And it is important to take into consideration then the important role of teachers, especially the teacher who, from the perspective, from the eyes of that particular shy student, is someone whom he could actually trust. I can confide, okay? I can talk about my problems with this particular teacher. I know that he is only out to help me, okay? So, security. The second one is, am I competent? So, competency, okay? Uh, I think that since we have a curriculum, an academic curriculum, whether we talk about reading, we talk about math, there are certain standards and benchmarks. And of course, it is important for the students to master, to understand, to apply, okay, to show that they have a good grasp of these particular standards and benchmarks in mathematics, in English, in social studies, etc. But at the same time, we have to discover what are they good at? What are they good at? Because the shy student is always asking the question, do I really have competence? What am I good at? We have to be able to surface the strengths of the shy student. And we can do that, okay, particularly when we converse with them, we spend some time with them. Or when we talk about them, about a certain shy student or shy students with our colleagues. So security and then competence. And then the third one is, am I important? Am I important? So, do the teacher pay attention to me? Does the teacher know my name? Do I have friends? So, importance, meaning to say, do I actually belong to this particular school, to this particular classroom? And therefore, we're talking about a community. Because I am important, di ba? I am not invisible. I am visible. I am listened to. I am heard. I am valued. I am a member of this particular community. And therefore, I can identify myself with this particular classroom, with this particular school, or, okay, with this community of learners. So security, competence, importance, or identity. So we need to converse with them about these three very important points. Now, let's now take a look at the classroom. Because a while ago, we talked about effective teaching or effective teaching methods and strategies in dealing with the struggling students. But now, the shy students. We're taking a look at fear, we're taking a look at anxiety. So effective teaching number two, particularly for the shy students. Number one, increase wait time. We have to be very patient. We have to be understanding. All right. So instead of the, I don't know, probably the 3 second rule, wait for 3 seconds or 5 seconds for the student to come up with an answer. Maybe for a shy student, because you've identified him, okay, when you call on him during recitations, during class discussion, when you pose a question, maybe add another second, increase the wait time. Second, celebrate. Celebration is very important. Recognize them when they have something, when they have done something, okay, that actually goes beyond their comfort zone. I don't know, when they probably raise their hand and ask a question. And remember, when a question is asked by a student, that particular question is what we call the authentic question, because actually it's the most important question inside the classroom. Because when the teacher would normally ask a question, the teacher already knows the answer. But in the case of that authentic question coming from the student, most of the time, the student does not know the answer. And remember, this particular question comes from someone who is fearful of being evaluated, who has anxiety or anxious. So celebrate their success. And there are other ways of celebrating their success. I don't know, maybe uh, when you have a gallery of achievement, particularly performance tasks, especially if that particular shy student has done something, has produced something worthy of exhibition, why not include it in the exhibit? But I think the most important is when you personally communicate it to the child or to the student. When you pat him on the back, when you ask him to stay, maybe after class, and talk to him for a minute or even for a few seconds, and tell him that he has done well or she has done well. So celebrate their success. All right, cooperative learning, okay? A group in a problem-based learning approach, etc., etc. It is important that even though it's not in the curriculum, that you have to teach them how to become a good member of a cooperative learning group. Or a collaborative learning group. They have to know the expectations. They have to know the rules. You have to give them prompts on how to deal, on how to become a good member of the group, how to say things, how to actively listen, how to show appropriate behavior. Uh, so this goes for all members of the group, but more particularly for the shy students. There has to be coaching. You have to be a coach. You have to wear the hat of a coach and zero in on that particular shy student. Okay, very important. Use encouraging words. Wait until you see is one of those phrases. Wait until you see. Fearful of participating in a cooperative learning group. Wait until you see. Fearful of raising his hand. Wait until you see. Right? Fearful of befriending a person or accepting the friendship offered by another person. Wait until you see. So use encouraging words. Teacher communication of these encouraging words is very important from the perspective or the lens of the shy student, precisely because they are forms of encouragement. And shy students full of anxiety need a lot of encouragement. So let's now take a look at another activity focusing on the shy students, the Johari window. And we will focus only on two. Hidden, okay, because you know it, because you have dealt with them and you have been successful in dealing with them. What are other strategies I have implemented in my classroom for you to reflect on? Okay. But at the same time, I want you to share those strategies. You can write them down and place them in the inbox because those are the unknown, but actually other can help other participants in this particular session, your colleagues. What could you recommend coming from the hidden, okay, for the classrooms of those who are participating in this particular session that probably you have never tried before, but you think it is something that will make a difference, that will make a difference. So hidden, what are the effective strategies that I've implemented before? Okay, reflect on them. Unknown, we will twist it a little bit. What could I recommend for the classrooms of my colleagues here that I have never tried before, but I have read about it? I saw it probably in the class or classes, okay, of my colleagues, or I have actually found that this particular research study recommends it. What is that particular strategy? Right. So, but wait, there's more. Perseverance. But probably when we talk about perseverance, a key concept, a key term that captured our imagination in 2016 is grit by Angela Duckworth. Because grit is perseverance, tenacity, hanging in, never giving up. So having grit means possessing an attitude that actually embraces challenges. So that particular student willingly steps out of his comfort zone. And in that struggle, hopefully a productive struggle, never gives up. So grit. And I would like now to go back to effective teaching in the context of the classroom on how we can develop grit. There are many types of grit. And I would like to take a look again at academic grit. So, number one, this is very important. It is important to sit down with the shy student and then to identify what are the specific goals. For this particular quarter, what are the specific goals that I can that we that you can probably list down, okay, while helping him, okay, list down those goals, okay, and helping him actually achieve those goals, whether in the context of math, whether in the context of science, and maybe those particular goals actually cross-cut. So, for example, a goal could be, I will try to participate actively, okay, in the classes that I have. Recite probably, I don't know, at least once a week. But they need a specific set of goals. Academic grit. Number two, they should learn how to focus or concentrate. And hopefully, that particular point regarding taking away fear inside the classroom because of the fear of the teacher or the fear of the classmates because of bullying, we take that away, hopefully, okay, that they learn to focus and concentrate, that they have to have a mindset that they are there to actually learn and that their classmates, the environment, including the teacher, is actually out there to help them. So eye on the prize. Okay. And that particular price is actually learning and development. And okay, third, very important. Okay. They have to talk to themselves and they have to go past that mental block, that anxiety. It's about mindfulness. They are mindful of the fact that I have a goal. I have to achieve that particular goal. And this particular environment is supportive of me, and I can do this. If ever I commit a mistake, I know that my teacher will not actually put me down. I will not receive harsh words coming from the teacher. Okay. But actually, that particular teacher will understand and maybe use my failure, okay, wrong answer, in order for me to discover the right answer. So they have to know how to talk to themselves. Okay, self-talk is very important. So academic grit. So Johari window version number 2, dealing with struggling and shy students. What can I say about the role of teachers, which I think everyone knows or accepts regarding struggling and shy students? But now, okay, I would like, okay, to make this known. Public space but not clearly visible. What can I say about it, which I think may seem something new? Okay. So going back to that hidden a while ago regarding the shy students, what was the effective strategy that you actually use in your classroom in dealing with struggling now this time the two, struggling and shy students that actually did work? It did produce an outcome, a good outcome that you can actually share with the group. All right. So light bulb moment, a key idea. I think when we were talking about the shy and the struggling students, we realized the important role of the teacher. And this particular role, okay, has something to do with number one, number two, and especially number three. There is an aspiration on the part of the teacher that those struggling and shy students will progress toward an appropriate goal. There is actually genuine caring on the part of the teacher, right? And the teacher knows that, okay, has to he has to lead these struggling and shy students, okay, because they need long hours of practice in order to gain those appropriate dispositions and passion for action. But I think the third one is very important. Learning from the teacher so as to act on appropriate reasons. And here we highlight the importance actually of a very, very valuable strategy, and that is modeling. And that modeling actually encompasses who we are as teachers. That when we talk about the virtue of perseverance, the virtue of grit, the virtue of courage, that the students, our students, can actually see it in us. Okay? Everything that we say, everything that we do, okay, they will remember it, okay, because the teacher is a source of inspiration for the students. And therefore, because of that modeling aspect, the teacher has a powerful impact on them. So modeling. All right. Okay, so maybe you can write down a summary of what you have learned from the session. So probably in the form of a big idea, probably a key sentence that summarizes everything. So, and this particular key sentence talks about forming in character the shy and the struggling students. All right, I still have many slides, but let's see what we can achieve in 4 minutes. Let's now take a look at the paradigm shift. What am I hinting at? That particular paradigm shift is in order to form the shy and the struggling students, I think there's a need to shift from a deficit type of a classroom, a deficit type of teaching character, to a strengths-based approach of teaching character. And when you talk about this strengths-based approach, okay, it's a new perspective actually in dealing with struggling and shy students. So take a look at this particular point regarding perseverance. Okay, to be patient, to never give up, etc., etc. When we have that particular paradigm shift regarding perseverance, we realize that we have a new definition of perseverance. It's advancing in character in the face of a storm. In the face of a storm. And what is that storm? Maybe I cannot understand a certain concept that is being explained in social studies, maybe a certain set of procedures, algorithm that I cannot really comprehend in math. All right. So that's the storm. And how do we make them look at that particular storm as a chance for them to be able to advance not only in academics in terms of competencies, knowledge, skills, but also in values, in virtues, attitudes, and dispositions. Okay? So sometimes you reach a point in your life that seems unbearable. Sometimes you think that you can survive it. Sometimes it feels like all you can do is sit and wait for it to pass. Well, when you just sit there, it can just make it worse. So advancing character in the face of a storm. So tips for a colleague. So how can we effectively teach using a strengths-based approach? What are other strategies I could recommend? So taking a look at all of those strategies that are aligned with perseverance, with grit or courage. Are there other strategies? Level 2 strategies. Level 2 strategies actually are macro strategies. Okay, so let me just take this opportunity before 4 p.m. Okay, at one of those strategies. And I would like to take a look at agency. This is very important. Something to do with ownership. In everything that we do, especially in developing the virtues of perseverance, courage, or grit among those shy and struggling students, it is important for the students to have a choice and, more importantly, to have a voice. They have to have ownership of that particular learning. We have to involve them. We have to listen to them. They have to take the center stage. And in fact, okay, likened to a car, they have to drive the car. And this is very important because we have to amplify their voice, their ownership of the learning. Okay. Starting with on our part as teachers, when we take a look at that particular point regarding agency, okay, the first one is we have to have high expectations that actually they can do it. Strengths-based approach. We have to have a positive attitude, a positive mindset, or even a positive heart set. And we have to provide the students with the tool set Okay, in order for them to be able to participate actively in actually charting the course of how they will be able to grow in those virtues, perseverance, courage, or grit. But it begins with the high expectations. At the same time, they have to participate in determining that particular purpose. They have to participate in determining that particular purpose. So, and then the third one, okay, of course, we need to know them. It's important that we need to know them because how can we amplify their voice? How can we give them the choice? How can we say that they will own it, the learning, if we don't actually know them? It's very important that we know them. So I would like to end here and turn over the floor to Mr. Rintoy.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Grillo. We are going to first end